Good evening, YouTube. Welcome to another edition of the Ghostlight Social, the show where we bring creative people together and we have a bit of an informal chat, just to pass the time in your evenings. And, you know, I think so far it's been going really well, surprisingly. I'm more surprised. I'm the most surprised person.
Why are you so surprised?
Hang on, I'm just going to bring Lee in now. I'm not right. There we go. There, they can see you now.
What I want to know is why you're so surprised.
Well, you know, it's one of those things where lots and lots of people have this idea of like, oh, I'm going to do this, that, and the other on YouTube, or I'm going to do this, that, and a lot of it, you know, you get past maybe 2 or 3 episodes, and people just get bored, and people haven't. They're still tuning in. You know, we've still got an audience, which is great.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm loving it. These evenings are great.
I thought you were saying you were surprised because we say we're going to do something, we sort of start it, and then we just can't be bothered to finish it. This is one of them things that we just... I thought that's what you meant. Anyway, look, Mike, how are you?
It's an exciting day in the Hunter household.
Okay. Why is it an exciting day? Will we discover that?
Well, it's not a big thing. I mean, under the current circumstances, it's quite exciting. Any other day of the week, you know, if this were this time last year, it wouldn't even bear mentioning.
Okay, tell us.
But we've all got brand new toothbrushes.
Okay. Well, that's something to celebrate.
My teeth feel amazing. It's great.
Are you an electric toothbrush guy, or are you old school?
An electric one, and it's the old school ones we've got new ones of. The electric one is great, but it lasts about one brush, and then I've got to charge it. So I use it when I can be arsed charging it.
Right. Because I'm thinking about, not that this is what we want to talk about particularly, but maybe, you know, our guest later might have some insight. I've been thinking about getting one of those, you know, those water flossers.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm researching that at the moment, see if it's any good for your teeth, because I can't floss my teeth. Anyway, look, what have you been up to anything today, Mike?
Today, Monday is a dad duty day, so I've been my wife's been working at home, so I've been entertaining our daughter Piper today.
So you've been sitting down in front of YouTube?
No. We have watched an inordinate amount of Hey Dougie today, because that's her new favourite thing. So whenever the TV was on, she was like, nothing was interesting apart from Hey Dougie. So we watched that quite a lot today. But we've been like cooking and stuff and all that today, so it's been quite nice. Had a walk around the park.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. I've been aerating the grass today.
Like a groundsman with a pitchfork.
Yeah. No, I've got like a proper aerator thing that like sticks like tubes into the grass. That was my workout for today. That was my workout. Right. Anyway, look, I want to get on with the show. Before we do, I want to share my screen because.
Hang on. Yeah, come on.
Yeah. So I think I'm. Oh no, hang on. That's the wrong.
No, you're sharing now. That's fine.
I know. It was the wrong. There we go. Right. I want to share screen because a couple of things that some freebies that are going on. Chicken Shed Theatre Company. Waiting for the ship to sail. There. That was their production.
Well pronounced.
Thank you. It was their spring show, and I think it got stopped actually for when in the lockdown. And that was Waiting for the Ship to Sail is a sort of a commentary. Is it commentary? Is a commentary or a comment or it's a sort of a delve into migration. That's a really interesting show. I watched that today. It's really, really good. The other thing that caught my eye was the David Hockney at the Royal Academy of Arts. That's on YouTube as well. So check that out because that is really interesting. And the other one, Royal Ballet, The Metamorphosis, which is their recent production of Metamorphosis, which I've watched half of, and then I got a little bit sidetracked, so I'm going to watch the other half later. So they're my 3 for today because, as you know, Mike, I love people that are giving stuff away for free because it annoys the hell out of me, as you know, that people are still charging us for stuff during this time. Advice. Go on.
I was going to say I was going to put that in my intro just to say this seems to be the only place where you can get this kind of content for free. But I decided against it. But I might stick it in on Wednesday.
But it's not really the only place. But
No, but it makes us sound good. Anyway.
Yes.
Should we crack on?
Yeah, let's crack on. Yeah. Would you like to introduce our guests?
Yeah, so tonight we've got two guests as normal. We've got a musician on, Mitch Thompson, who it's the first time I'm talking to. He seems like a decent geezer, even though he supports Leeds United. And our second guest, he's got a CV as long as anything. It's Mr. Reece Dinsdale. Welcome, chaps, to Ghostlight Social.
Good evening. Thank you for having us.
Good evening, gents.
You okay?
Welcome. Yeah, thanks for joining us. Very well, thank you. Yes. How are we holding up in this current climate?
Yeah, all right. Yeah, not too bad. Staying as busy as you can do, really. I'm actually quite enjoying it.
I know you're staying really busy, so I'm going to come on to that a little bit later.
All right, okay.
Reece, how are you doing? How are you coping in this lockdown?
I'm doing fine. I'm doing okay. Just doing stuff like everybody else, that you probably don't get done. You put to one side and all the rest of it. It's nice to see the family for a bit longer than you normally do as well. And then again, it's also not so nice sometimes. And you're like, okay, I'm just going to take an hour now. Okay, but no, it's really good. I mean, it's a terrible time, as we all know, and it feels. There's some guilt attached, actually, I feel, to enjoying it a little bit.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know if you know what I mean, but it's like I'm sitting in the garden, and I've got a garden. A lot of people don't have a garden or even a balcony or something, and I'm sitting out there and I'm cutting the lawn, and I've got birds in the trees. And I'm thinking, hang about, this is quite idyllic in some ways, and you just feel bad because there's so much pain and so much grief going on as well, hand in glove with all this. So it's bittersweet, but you can only make the best of what you've got, can't you? And I'm doing okay.
Good. Do you have any pets? Have you got dogs?
Oh, we got a cat. She rules the house. Yeah, she's quite famous, actually. I mean, all my kind of followers on Twitter always want to see her.
Absolutely.
So I might introduce them to her in the next day or two, live.
Absolutely. It's funny though, isn't it? Especially, I don't know, Mitch. I know you've got dogs, but
yeah.
Our dog is 10 months old, and he's getting walked more than he's ever been.
Yeah.
He is loving life. I think he's loving life.
Yeah, well, like we've my parents, because I still live with my parents, and like they just bought a blue male border collie. I don't know if you've seen photos, Lee, before.
Yeah.
I've shown you photos before. He's about 18 weeks old now, and he's growing really quickly. And we could only start taking him on walks about 3 weeks ago. So it's quite. We'd like him to run around with like other dogs and kind of start socialising with other dogs, but obviously, these social distancing measures, so you can't, allow that to happen. So it's nice walking around. You've got like Savile Parkley next to where we live.
Yeah.
Walking around, can't take him too far, but we're walking around there, and you can see how eager he gets to play with other dogs, and you feel so bad for just not allowing him off his lead and going to play with them. But he's keeping us busy, to be fair, because he's still in the training process as well. So he keeps us very busy.
Yeah. So just to explain, Mitch and I live in the same village. And probably very much like you, Reece, we're very lucky because there's lots of greenery, lots of nice walks, lots of and you're right. My wife and I were walking along the river and yesterday, and I said the same thing. Just imagine what it's like not to have this. We're very, very lucky. Really,
a nightmare. We are lucky, and so you just can't complain. You won't find me complaining about it because we're not at the front line as well, are we? I did the big shot today, as you got to do it, and you've got to brave it, haven't you? And I said to the lass at the till at the end, thank you, because you are the ones who are getting it day in day out. You're just here, and it's like the delivery drivers, isn't it? And and the care workers and the NHS. We know all that. It's just we've got it cushy, really.
Yeah. How was the supermarket?
It was a little busier than I thought it might be. There was a customer and a guy doing the Sainsbury's worker doing the trolleys, and they were going to have a fight. tempers were frayed, and I don't know what it was about. And they were offering each other out. I thought, this is crazy. And I thought, I'm going to have to step in a minute. I thought, I can't step in. Social distancing and all the rest of it. It's bloody mad out there. The two young guys, and they were just rubbing up. And I think one of them was saying to the other, you're not doing the job properly, and blah, blah, blah. Oh, it was crazy. Anyway, it was a little busier than I thought. And as I was coming out at 4:00, it had got quiet, so I've got my eye on 4:00 the next time I have to go.
Well, it's funny because the last time I went to a big supermarket, we have a couple of little ones near us, and usually they're absolutely fine. But I went to one of the big Asda's at Morley, and this was last week, 10 days ago. And it was absolutely crazy. I mean, it was crazy. We were queuing to get in, and that's fine. And everybody's been really respectful. But then once inside, it was like it was a free for all, and I was just stood, kind of going, "Oh my God, what?" Can
you don't want to come over as kind of being virtuous and the rest of it. But I was amazed. I came back and said to my wife, I said, people are extraordinary still. They just don't get it, and they are leaning across you, and they're you're supposed to be about 6 feet or whatever, and they're coming in within 2 feet, and they don't care. And I'm like, maybe I'm just over fussy or something, and a lot of people haven't bought into this, but I just think it's better safe than sorry. Just keep back. Keep away.
Yeah. Need one of those alarms. It wasn't Max. Was it Max and Paddy? It wasn't Max and Paddy. It was Phoenix Knights, wasn't it? With his car alarm. Yeah, bastard. Okay, good. Right, let's get on with some. Actually, Mike.
Yeah.
Haven't you got something to ask, Reece?
Ooh, I'm nervous now, lads.
Yeah. So. You probably won't remember this because it is a number of years ago. But my aunt, when I first started to show an interest in acting and all that kind of stuff, my aunt told me this story of when I was like 1-2 years old, something like that. My Aunt Lorraine used to babysit quite a lot for me. And she said, one night, Mr. Reece Dinsdale came along and babysat.
Wow! What?
Yeah. And so
when was this?
So
where was this?
This will be in Pontefract, around about 1980.
Maybe sat in Pontefract in my life. What is she saying to you? I think I've only been to Pontefract about 4 times.
It's one of those stories which, when you're about 14, you're like, I know who that guy is. I've seen him on TV. And you're kind of like, that's really cool. And then when you get a bit older, you're like, I think she was playing me a little bit. So I wanted to set the record straight.
No, what I love...
I person say to my mum, when I was at the height of doing Home to Roost, the comedy series I used to do many years ago, in the mid-'80s. And my mum said, why did you come up home last weekend and not tell us? I went, what? She said, oh, yeah, we bumped into these people in Castleford. You're going out with their daughter. I've been in London for 5 years. I've not been back to my mother's for months and months. And people just come up with these stories. I'm not saying your auntie is making but I have no recollection of being in Pontefract babysitting.
You must have many lookalikes around here, Reece.
That's it, mate.
I reckon what's happened in the 80s is there's been a few guys, kind of chancers, looked a little bit like you, who have sort of gone, met these girls. Which is great. She's great.
Nice guy on Twitter who follows me. He's a really nice guy. He says he's lived for 30 years off looking like me. His mates call him Reece.
Does he look like?
He looks like and he does. He's a nice guy to be there.
Fair enough. Listen, you've got to work with what you've got. I think that's absolutely fine.
It's not a lot if you look like me.
Oh, I don't know. When I was looking again at your vast CV, I was sat next to my wife in the garden, and she went, "Oh, I did used to fancy you."
Nobody told me at the time. There's all these women saying, a certain age saying to me, "We fancied you in Home to Roost." This, that. Well, nobody told me.
But having said that, Home to, what a fantastic success that was. And and
it was pretty early on, wasn't it, though, as well? And actually, people always think it's my first job. But it wasn't. It was far from it. I'd done 5 years of being a professional actor by then, and it's a boring story. So please forgive me if
No.
but basically, everybody's shocked at my age now, and the reason is because when they were going to do this show, I got a call from my agent saying, "Do you want to do a sitcom?" And I was properly classically trained actor, and I go, "No, I don't do that. I'm not doing that." And as soon as they said it's with John Thor, a two-hander, I'm like, "Yeah, okay, we'll have a bit of that." But the reason they asked me is I'd done a lot of work, plays at the Royal Court, and by that time I'd done Threads, which is a massive job on my CV, and Winter Flight and all these things. And they'd seen every 17-year-old kid played him opposite John, and nobody had the experience, because it's John Thor. You've got to go toe to toe with this guy. It's not just let's turn up and see if it works. It's got to work. It's got to have that spark. And the producer and the casting director were dragged along by the casting director to this play I was in at the Royal Court. They saw me, and luckily I was 25, looking 17. And on the first day, I did a screen test with John. We hit it off, just fantastically well. And on the very first day of rehearsals for it, I was 25. John was only 43, looking 10 years older.
Which the guys did then, didn't they?
Yeah, well, they did,
Yeah.
exactly. So the gap between me and John wasn't that enormous. Now, of course, I'm playing 17, I'm 25. The series runs for nearly 4.5 years. I'm 29 at the end, playing 18. I've only aged a year, and I still look bloody 18 in the thing. So now when I tell people how old I am, they go, "What?" And they don't know that those years have went by in a second. There you go. That's a little story.
It is funny though, because people do judge an actor's career, I think, by the TV that they do, but they forget about that. The grounding, the work that you do.
The work I do now and stuff. I just absolutely love live theatre. That if you were twisting my arm, whether it's directing, television, whether it's being on screen or on stage, I absolutely love stage work. And when people say, "You're back on telly at the moment," where have you been? Do you still act? I've been doing these great roles in the theatre, Richard III and all these things. And nobody has a clue. All you are is, you were Joe McIntyre in Corrie or, whatever. So it's a weird one, but how are they to don't go see it?
No, absolutely. Yeah. And hopefully I'd like to come back to Richard III and some of the theatrical work a little bit later on. But just for now, can you give us, and I'll stay with you, Reece, could you give us your song for the playlist?
Yes. This is not a song that I'm like, this is my kind of music or anything. It's a very, very wonderful song, but it's just what it means to me, really. It's Salisbury Hill by Peter Gabriel. And I don't know whether you chaps played the song or want me to talk about it, but
yeah,
there's not an awful lot to say, except it reminds me of home. It reminds me of home so much, and it reminds me of my dad, and it reminds me of my old mates back in Normanton, where I grew up. And unfortunately, my dad died last summer, and he was my best chum. We were brilliant mates. And I always loved the song because it reminded me of my dad. Because when I was away living in London for a quarter of a century, I was homesick for the lads and for my dad and things. And that line kills me. Sonny said, "Grab your things, I've come to take you home." And it just gets me every time I hear it.
Yeah.
It's one of those hauntingly beautiful songs.
Great song.
And so that's it, really. It reminds me of good mates, good times back then. It's like that poem by A. Houseman, "Into my heart an air that kills from yon far country blows. What are those blue remembered hills? What farms, what spires are those? It is the land of lost content. I see it shining plain. The happy highways where I went and cannot come again." It's just like yearning and passion kills you.
Great.
That's the reason I chose.
Well, that's probably one of the best answers we've had. So that's definitely
I can't follow that, Reece.
The pressure's on.
So brilliant. So that will be added. Thank you very much. Mitch, just before you give us your song, just tell us about Glastonbury. How was that?
That was incredible. I think absolutely incredible. So like, it was quite unexpected at the time. So I was 18 at the time, and we was in the band for about 18 months, and we started getting a few support slots, doing some quite kind of prestigious shows. And then one morning, I was about 8:30 in the morning. My brother comes running in saying, "Oh, have you seen his email?" And I'm like, "What are you on about?" Like, I never check emails anyway. And I look, and he said, "Oh no, check your phone." And we looked, and it was an email from BBC Introducing saying, "Oh, we'd like you to invite you to play the stage at the BBC Introducing stage at Glastonbury." And I like, is it one of these? Is it like a scam or something like this? You know what I mean? So it was kind of a bit overwhelming at the time. Like, we'd never really done anything quite as big as that. So to kind of get it as an email was a bit kind of like, is that all it is? So yeah, I mean, obviously it was legitimate, and the annoying thing was we couldn't say a word for 6 weeks. So I was trying to keep it to myself for 6 weeks, and as you get more and more excited about something, as it gets closer, you kind of start saying, "Oh, we've got." I think we on social media we said, "Oh, we've got some news coming." So everyone, you shouldn't really say that, because then people
did that classic thing. You did that classic thing, didn't you? Oh, I can't tell you at the moment, but there's some big news coming.
Exactly. Big announcement next month. Everyone's like, "Oh, what is it telling?" So then, when you've had if you were your mates and you've had a few beers and stuff, they're like, "Oh, you want to tell us what it is then?" And we kind of whisper it to them, and then it just somehow starts spreading. You're like, "Damn, I shouldn't have told anyone that." But no, and we announced it, and like the support around it was incredible. People were absolutely buzzing for us, and then we kind of travelled down there, and I mean the most exciting thing for us as well is that Steve Lamacq chose us. I mean, so basically the way you kind of get on the way you kind of have the opportunity to get on is there's something on the BBC called the BBC Uploader, and you can upload your music, and then it gets kind of, I think you get chosen from your local BBC Introducing show. So we were lucky enough to have someone who was really into us at the time working as a producer for BBC Introducing, and then he passed it on to the national producers, and obviously Steve Lamacq was one of them, which was quite mad. And he was the one who chose us to play it, and then he announced us as well, which was really exciting. He announced us for the show, and then. The thing is that we only had a 25-minute set, so I can't remember any of it. It just completely flew by. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, I can remember the sound check. The sound check felt a lot longer than the actual show did. And yeah, it was just absolutely incredible experience. And then, like I say, that all the support around us was just superb. And the good thing was all the people at home and who supported us throughout the years could stream it live as well. So I think it was quite nice for them to see, for those that have followed us from day one, to see us kind of play such an incredible stage like that. Was pretty amazing.
I'm very envious of that experience. I was in a band for many years, and we did all right. We released a couple of things kind of independently, and we did all right. And me and the drummer were sacked the month before they played V Festival.
The week before they did what?
They played Leeds Festival. I
don't know why. I'm sorry, Mike. I don't know why I laughed. It was I thought it was going to be one of those funny stories.
Can you tell us the reason, Mike, for why you were sacked? Or was it?
You're not very good, Mike.
I mean, that was just the standard.
You're the peak best of your group.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Me and the drummer had a little dalliance with somebody we shouldn't.
Right. Okay. Say no more.
Yeah. That was.
You weren't pretending to be Reece Dinsdale at the time.
Actually.
Fair enough. We won't go into that, Mike. We'll leave that.
I mean, people who know me know the story quite well, but.
Right.
We'll leave that.
We'll catch up afterwards, Mike, and you can tell me all about it.
I mean, it's not that impressive.
I'm intrigued to know those stuff.
I watched the Glastonbury performance today.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I did. Yeah,
right.
and then after that, I would see. I'm not a massive muso. I have to say, I'm not a massive muso, right?
Yeah.
But I would describe that Glastonbury set as sort of. Would it sort of guitar heavy northern indie?
Yeah, that's pretty much.
That be fair?
Yeah, I'd say that's completely fair. I mean, we were heavily influenced by, kind of raucous 50s and 60s rock and roll at the time. I mean, you can probably see in the video we've got kind of classic quiffs going on. I mean, I've not cut my hair for a long time, as you can see, but like in that video, you probably won't recognise me because my hair's so short and it's just like, it's quiffed, and we're all kind of dressed in the blazers and stuff. So like, that's the perfect way to describe it. Really, it was just kind of almost we tried to achieve just creating catchy hooks, big guitar lines, and exciting songs you can dance to. Really, and people got it at the time. Yeah, sorry, go on.
Sorry, I was going to say, but then I watched from a few years later a few songs that you did at the 360 Club.
Ah, right. I mean, I do forget what's on the.
and I would describe that music that you were playing then as much more 80s.
It was.
It was a lot softer, very different.
So you say you're not a muser, Lee, but you know exactly what you're talking about, don't you? No, it was. I mean, the thing is, like any artist, you develop and you always want to kind of improve your craft as you kind of the more and more you progress. So we didn't want to keep writing the same music because we didn't want to bore people. We wanted to kind of almost keep the same vibe going on, but just slowly developing and making sure people could see us do that. And you are right. I mean, I think that must have been 2015 on that video. I think it was 2015, and we got more into like 80s indie, like the Smiths and like the Wars and Suede. Well, Suede was more kind of early 90s, but we got more into the kind of like the more jangly guitar kind of stuff. I mean, Johnny Marr for me was, and probably still is, one of my favourite guitarists. Smiths are a very controversial band out there. They kind of, I think a lot of people just kind of look at Morrissey and then kind of like turn a blind eye. But I think from my point of view, I was more focused on Johnny Marr's guitar lines and the kind of his innovative kind of guitar playing and technique, really. So that took quite a big influence on the new songs, really. And you've hit the nail on the head, really, Lee. That is a good way to describe it.
Well, this is not my first rodeo.
You're waiting to say that.
Okay, good, right. So you weren't. I'll very briefly before I get your song, because I didn't realise that your dad, Paul, was founder member of the Muldoon Brothers.
Oh yeah.
See, I didn't know that.
Did you know the Muldoon Brothers?
I do know the Muldoon
Brothers. I don't really know how popular they are, really. I know they're popular in these parts, but So how do you know? Have you heard of them, Lee? Like, what's the?
Well, because when I was growing up, I'd seen them play a few times in various sort of little places and stuff. But Rachel, my wife, her best friend from years ago, we used to go out with the drummer.
All right, is it Stuart?
I don't know.
I don't know. You're really in there.
I didn't know it then. I don't know. But anyway, so
cool. That's pretty cool, though. That's pretty cool.
So give us a song. I'm expecting a good one. Give us a song from the playlist, for the Isolation playlist.
Well, it might be controversial, this, because I've been massively into a lot of soundtrack and instrumental music recently. Well, I say recently, probably for the last year to 18 months now, I've been very much attracted to kind of soundtracks and instrumentals. So I've gone with an Italian composer, I don't know if you've heard of him, called Ludovico Einaudi.
Oh, obviously, yeah.
And he's got a piece called, have you heard of Petrichor?
Oh yeah.
And I heard that for the first time a couple of weeks ago, and I was just kind of in a trance. I was listening to it, and I was kind of like, obviously during these times, it's nice to have kind of soothing music that kind of takes you elsewhere, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? And kind of relaxes you. And I'll kind of really, it takes a lot for me. I mean, I have quite high standards really. It takes a lot for me to kind of think, wow, I'm mind blown by this song.
What's it called? Petrichor.
Petrichor. P-E-R. Oh, you're testing me now, misspelling. 1 sec.
I'll find it. Don't worry. Yeah. Well, I'll find it.
Yeah.
So what would you describe? What would you describe it as? Is it haunting? Is it?
Very haunting. Yeah, I'd say. I think it's a very slow. It's very minimal at the start. It's a really kind of nice, delicate kind of piano line. and then you've got kind of like your nice little kind of violin and strings coming in and out, and it just, I don't know, it's just so delicate, and then the slow kind of build just grips you, and you just kind of like, you're hooked all the way through. In my opinion, people might disagree, but yeah, that's, like I say, it's a perfect song for me, really. At this time, anyway, when you just want to sit and chill and kind of escape somewhere else, I think.
Very good.
That would be perfect for me.
Mike, this is getting too arty for my liking now.
It's very cultured, this show, isn't it?
I'm thinking...
It's getting like the South Bank show.
Yeah.
This is not what I signed up for.
I'm getting really into it. And
Don't worry, I'll bring the tone down.
If you've lost the viewers, don't blame me.
No, that's good. That's great. There is a mixed bag on there now, on which is brilliant. That's very good.
From Pina Colada to that.
Well, I didn't think that's why
what you got on there, Pina Colada?
Yeah. That's why I thought, I looked at the playlist earlier and I thought, oh, well, should I say this song?
Did you
have a look at the playlist?
Oh yeah, there's some bangers on there. I mean, so I thought of the song and I thought, I'll best check the playlist just in case it's completely out of place. But no, I stuck to my guns and it's going on there.
Anyway, yeah. I thought you were checking it just in case anybody else had put it on.
Well, maybe, yeah, that as well, to be honest. That as well.
Okay, great. Thank you, gentlemen. Very, very good indeed. So next question then. Let's stick with you, Mitch, while I'm with you. What's the most coronavirus thing you've done?
I have thought about this question, and like, I haven't done anything drastically different to what I do on my day-to-day life, to be honest. Because I work at home, and I live at home. Still with my parents, but hoping to move out soon. There's nothing kind of drastically different, that I'm doing caused by this pandemic. So, I mean, I have picked up the PS4 for the first time in about 10 years. Well, it's probably not even been out for 10 years, has it? But for a long time, and I was tempted to get my dad's Nintendo 64 out of the cupboard earlier, but I don't want to get addicted to gaming when this is all over, because I won't get anything done. So getting back in, so picking up the PS4 is the most coronavirus thing you've done. Probably is, yeah. I know it's not the greatest answer of all time, but that probably is.
Let me just get this straight. Right. Reece has only just got these questions.
Yes,
right?
just.
You've had them for a couple of days.
I know. Yeah,
wait till my answer comes, because my answer is exactly what he's just refused to do. My daughter yesterday finally got me to play Mario Kart for the first time in about 9 years.
Yes.
So I was there doing exactly. And I'm thinking as I'm doing it, this is a disaster because I'll never get off this. I'm never going to get off. In fact, I bought 2 wheels because I can't do the little control. Well, what it is, she's got, on the old ones, it used to be the wheels in it. So I've got 2 wheels getting the thing today. So yeah, that's mine as well, I'm afraid.
So you've ordered, they haven't arrived yet. You've ordered them since doing it.
I played with her yesterday. All right, I'm that old. I don't even know what it is. It's a Nintendo Switch, and the controls are like this big. Yeah. All right, and I'm trying to do the Mario Kart, and it used to be on the Wii or whatever. You get a wheel, and I'm like, and I was good. I was really good. I used to drop them off at school and come back and have half an hour at 9 o'clock. I am that bad. For so long I've been going, no. She got me to do it yesterday. I played 4 races with her or whatever it was, and then I went, I need a wheel, and I got on Amazon last night, and it came this morning.
I don't think that's essential shopping, Mr. Dinsdale.
No, it's not quite. I'm afraid. So sorry. That's terrible, isn't it? It is terrible. You caught me out there. The most coronavirus thing is I go the full shebang when I go to the shops. I've got the mask on and I've got the gloves on. Yeah, and what's funny is it's mainly blokes of a certain age, 30 to 60, who are doing that. It's actually quite crazy because I look around and there were virtually no women doing it, and no young lads, but there were loads of blokes from 30 to 60, all in the masks and the gloves. What's that saying? That's very strange.
Well, but you've already said that you're trying to keep distance from people, because my experience of a man of a certain age with a mask and gloves is that they think they're immune.
Oh no!
So they're just sort of leaning over.
Yeah, it's crap. That's crap. No, I think what I'm thinking of, and I've read so much stuff about, the mask stuff is no good unless you've got it, and it's to stop giving it to other people. But I just take the attitude: get kitted out, whatever it is. Better safe than sorry, and then behave accordingly, of course, because that's just appalling, is all that stuff. But anyway, that's my most Corona-like thing.
I'm assuming you've ordered the white suit from Amazon as well.
Yes, like some forensics guy coming.
Well, I was going to say, have you ever played a forensic?
Maybe I've put one on. I've got vague recollection. I've played so many coppers in my time that I've got some vague recollection of wearing one of these, but I don't think it was for a length of time. Maybe one scene.
Okay, fair enough. So while we're on the coronavirus-y type thing, I'll jump to you, Mitch. How many toilet rolls have you got in the house?
So I watched last week's show, and I'm going to prepare for this. I want to count them, but I actually forgot to count them.
Give me a rough idea. I mean, you've got about 7 toilets, haven't you? So how many?
We've got one. We've got one actually. We've got one. We used to have an outdoor toilet because our house is quite an old house. I think it's over 100 years old, and he's actually an outdoor toilet, and it is still there. If it was on my phone, I'd go and show you, but. Even though it's not
right.
You're all right.
You're fine. We can imagine. Yeah.
But so we've got 2, but we never use that one. But anyway, to answer your question, I'd say we've got about at the minute about 10 rolls.
Okay. There's quite a few adults in your house, though, isn't there? So.
Well, yeah, there's 3 of us. Yeah, there's 3. I mean, my brother Luke, he'd actually moved out a couple of months ago.
Oh, did he? Right.
Yeah. So we would have more, I reckon, if he was still living here. But I'd say about 10. I mean, I could be completely wrong. I can really count if you want.
Right, so hang on, Mitch. Just hang on a minute, right? I sent you these questions through.
You didn't send the toilet roll question. The toilet roll question.
Oh, that is true. I didn't. You're absolutely right.
I had to admit, the most coronavirus one was an appalling answer, and I apologise for that. However, but I don't know how many toilet rolls. I'd say about 10. Yeah,
we'll go with 10.
Yeah, I'm going to.
Reece, how are we doing for toilet roll? You've just been shopping, so presumably.
Yeah, well, actually, I didn't get toilet roll because as I was walking past the toilet rolls, I went, how many toilet rolls have we got? Do we need any more? And I thought about it. I thought, well, I think we've probably got a pack and a half of 6 and 3. So about 9, I think we've got. So we're doing okay. I think that's reasonable, isn't it?
That's reasonable. Yeah,
that's okay. Over 10, and it's pushing it a bit.
Yeah.
We had.
We gave the same answer.
We did have somebody on from Equity, Dominic from Equity, and he was saying that he generally buys a lot of toilet roll anyway, but he had 55 toilet rolls.
Wow. Is he constipated?
Big family.
I think it's the opposite, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, either that or just,
Yeah.
We're both words, I suppose.
Mike, how are we doing for toilet roll? Because you're up there as well, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, you said we live together.
Oh, yeah, we don't.
Yeah, we don't live together. Yeah. It's not like an Eric and Ernie thing, although...
Not yet. Yeah. Our wives haven't chucked it out yet, but it's imminent.
Yeah. Tell me about it. So much passive aggression today. Anyway, toilet rolls. I think I'm on about 11, something like that.
Oh, that's low for you. Are you panicking?
We've just... I mean, it's hay fever, so it's like blowing noses and stuff.
Yeah, of course it. Yeah.
Although, the other day... I put this on Facebook. I coughed in the morning, and I weren't feeling great. But then again, I'd only had about 6 hours sleep, and for about 30 minutes, I contemplated my entire death until I thought, "Don't be daft." And just like realised, I'm 42. I vape. I smoked since I was like a teenager. I'm obviously gonna have a cough first thing in the morning. And I was just like, ah. But for that half an hour, I was like, "Oh no." Nightmare.
Were you secretly hoping you had it so you could go to hospital and get out of the house for a bit?
No.
Not
in the slightest.
Okie dokie. I did exactly the same as you, Reece. I was at the supermarket and I walked past the toilet roll. There was plenty there.
Yeah, there were.
And I was reaching for a 9-pack. And I thought, no, we've got 6 or 7.
Okay.
Fine, we don't need any.
What you can't get a hold of, I couldn't in Sainsbury's last couple of times, is Dettol wipes. Wipes to just wipe things down. There's a dearth of Dettol wipes.
Really?
There you go. Yes, so go find them somewhere else, not Sainsbury's.
because we've now discovered the Dettol spray.
Oh, okay.
You know,
yeah.
That's really good
That's
stuff.
good.
That is. Yeah, that's good.
Oh, the vape. Look at the vape's out.
Yeah,
Started. Look, a crafty one there.
Yeah, I turned the camera off me. When we were broadcasting.
I'm making secrets now.
So while we're on vaping and stuff like that, what is your? So the question would be sort of how many units of alcohol have you had in the last 48 hours? But it might not be that. It might be what's your vice? You know, what, for example, the reason I'm changing it to vice is, we had Rebecca on last Wednesday, Rebecca Ryan, and she doesn't drink, but she eats a lot of cake. So it turns out that she's been stuffing her face full of cake in the last 48 hours. So it could be alcohol, it could be something else.
Mine is definitely. Sorry, mine is definitely alcohol. I never drink at home, and I've never. Yeah, I never usually drink at home. It's Monday night. It's Monday night, and I'm on the Stella. My dad's beers.
On the Stella.
No, it's not Stella.
I drink Stella, but my dad likes Stella, and these are his. So just if you're watching, you know, big old beers.
So fair enough. So how many units of alcohol in the last 48 hours then, Mitch?
In the last 48 hours, I didn't drink yesterday. I drank Friday and Saturday. I drank quite a lot actually. We have like on Friday and Saturday, my mate hosts a quiz night on Saturday nights.
Okay.
So there's quite a few of us that do it. So that's usually quite a big session, really. as big as a quiz night in your own home can get.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, I don't know in units, but I've probably consumed about
a lot.
A lot, yeah. I mean, yeah. I move on to the gin, you say, afterwards, and that gets a bit dangerous. So I turn into Shane McGowan, and then it all goes downhill from there.
Okay, fair enough. Reece, what's your vice? Is it a nice glass of wine?
Yeah, glass of wine, actually. I like Mitch. I wouldn't drink every night, but in this time, you just find yourself getting to a certain time and going, well, what else are we going to do? You know, so it is a bit like that, isn't it? And it's just not the norm. But I've had a couple of glasses last night, a couple of glasses. I haven't had any yet. I'm on the water. But I might have a glass when I finish with this. Yeah. But yeah, alcohol, I mean, I'm not overeating, but I just having a glass in the evening. I don't eat much sweet stuff, so no. There you go. That's my thing.
So wine is the thing. Fair enough. Yeah. We really haven't got that much food in the house because we can't get it in for the alcohol. The cupboard is.
What are you drinking, Lee? What alcohol? Are you
it's a Guinness. I usually allow, but I've only got one Guinness tonight. I usually allow myself two Guinnesses. Not every night, but while I'm doing the show on a Monday and a Wednesday, I have two Guinnesses. But I overindulged last week, so I had two Guinnesses and a little bit of rum. And by the end of the show, I was slurring my words slightly. So I'm not doing that.
We normally record a promo for the following show, and Lee was like, "I can't do it tonight. I'm slurring my words." So,
I just got myself a little bit overexcited, which is fine. You know, you've got to do. Haven't you? Fair enough. Okay. So sticking with you, Reece.
Okay.
I know that. I think I know the answer to this question. But what were you working on as we got locked down?
I've been directing up to Christmas Emmerdale for the first time ever. New to me, new system, multi-camera, all that stuff, which is really great. Interesting.
Directing for a while though.
I've been directing for 8 years, but single camera standalone drama stuff for BBC One, and thoroughly enjoying it. But there was a little opportunity that came to see if I could turn my hand to directing multi-camera. It's very different. It's like asking a geography teacher to do chemistry. You know, it really is a very strange thing. It's very much more exact. And you're working with 3 cameras at a time, and you're in a gallery calling the shots, and you've got a camera script. Whereas if you're making a single old drama, it's your baby. You can do as little or as much as you like in terms of preparation. It's all in here. I can work with my DOP, and then we just create in the moment what we want. But it's all got to be planned with this. So I was invited to come and do it. I got a great friend who held my hand and taught me old school how to do it, because I thought, if we're going to do it properly. And I was shooting really kind of important scenes with two of the mainstays of Emmerdale, two good friends of mine, Zoe Henry and Mark Charnock, who play Rona and Marlon. And I was shooting them in prison scenes, and it was very heavy. And I got a call. It was my last day on Emmerdale. I got a call from upstairs to go up at lunchtime to meet to see the exec producer and the producer. And I thought, oh my God, it's too late to sack me, surely, on the last day. So they sat me on the sofa, not a hard chair. And I thought, we're all right. I'm on the cards here now. So no, they were very kind, and they said, look, we've loved what you've done as a director. And one day we'd like to ask you back. And I thought, that's not concrete enough. One day you'd like to ask you back. They said, because in the meantime, we'd like to ask you to be in the show. And I would not gone into the building remotely to ask, to be in the show. It was to be a director of it. And I thought about it, and I spoke with my wife, and I just thought it's a really golden opportunity. Also, I mean, it'd been a while since I've been on screen because I've been doing a lot of theatre, a lot of directing, and so I thought it'd be nice to just put my face back on there and to get the acting boots back on again. And so, actually, in a serious vein, really, I must say I'm really rather glad. I did a month before lockdown. I hadn't really got into my stride, but I have to say I'm very fortunate that I've got under the roof of the show before this all happened. Yeah. Because seriously, talking about actors and what's going to happen after this I think it's quite bleak. So at least I know I'm going back to finish a contract that was kind of on hold till we go back. So if we go back in June or July or August, my contract will then kick on from then. Is so how I understand it. So at least I've got a certain amount of time of work post lockdown, which not everybody's going to be able to say. And I'm sorry to bring it to my profession or our profession, lads, but is bloody hard enough as it is. Yeah. We don't work. It's contrary to popular belief. 95% of us don't work all year round. Nothing like it. And so it was a bum fight before. It's going to be even worse. Yeah. So I'm struck lucky. I know that, but I'm very happy as well. If that weren't the case, I was very happy to be in the show. I'm enjoying that.
Great. Yeah. Interesting. So just while you're on that, then. Why do you think it's going to be bleak? What's your?
First of all, theatres. When do they get back on their feet? Firstly, they plan seasons and they plan it well in advance and all that. And certain plays suit certain seasons. Winter shows, big musicals, whatever. Christmas, spring show, maybe a different thing entirely again. Their planning is all to cock. To begin with. So how do they reignite? How do they get back on board? What do they do it with? They can't do it with a big cast full of loads of actors. We're going to have to start small, and that reduces numbers in things. I just think social distancing is the thing. It's all right, lockdown ending, but I don't think social distancing is going to end. And when I'm going to turn that to football, I'm one of those people, maybe a pessimist, but I can't see a sporting event happening in this country where there's a crowd until way past Christmas. I can't see it because how do you do that? This virus is not just going to magically go away. We've reduced it, we've leveled off, or we're hoping we have. But as soon as you start playing with each other again and interacting and intermingling, that virus is there. We haven't all had it. It's gonna kick off. I can't see how they can allow. I'm sort of like Mitch and the band and things, concerts. How the hell are they going to do that? How the hell pubs? Yeah. Pubs were the last thing to open. How do you you have to have one pub like only 10 people and sit in different corners. It's scary. This is a big thing that if anybody thinks it's just going to go back in 10 minutes to what it was, I think we make. Yeah.
Do you think the same? Because I agree with you, and I hope that something can be put in place for theatres, especially because I know one of the theatres that you were a patron of has disappeared.
Square Chapel.
Square Chapel.
It's theatre, and that's hit. It's gone into administration. That's bitten the dust. Hopefully, somebody can say that. But James Brining, now Leeds Playhouse, great mate. And I know from him, it's a massive problem. How do they get this big theatre back up and running? How do they program for it? Everything they planned, and they do plan 12 months in advance easily. It's not. So there's a knock-on effect. They bite the dust. They're not sure how they put it back together, and you can't. There's no point in any theatre if you can't put an audience in there.
No, absolutely.
So the first thing is they can't move until they say social distancing is over. When is that going to be over?
Yeah.
It's scary. And football, they're all going, let's do this and do it. Football's nothing behind closed doors. It's just nothing. They can complete the season and all that stuff behind closed doors. But we also play a contact sport. If there's social distancing, never mind the crowd, they can't play. They cannot play. Even if they're all well and they've gone through this test, a lot of them won't have had it, but they can't play. Somebody goes, you've got to go for a tackle, you've got to be next to somebody, like this, breathing, sweating and spitting, and it's just not going to happen. And everybody thinks it can, and everybody's in, I think, I may be wrong, but I think that in Clark Cuckoo land, if we're told by the WHO that we can't still be close.
I think I hope in some ways I hope that something happens, or there is some way for theatres to still at least get pantomimes going in some way, because that is, and then I agree with you that it's going to be so difficult, but that's when we'll see the trouble with theatres if they can't. That's what
they make their money at the Christmas show. All those theatres, Harrogate Theatre, where I'm a patron too, and Leeds is the big Christmas show. That's what they do. And if they can't go ahead, they're the money spinners for the rest of the year. They can take the losses of you're doing a Chekhov where there's not as full, but they do them because you've got to do Chekhov. This is the big problem. How do we all get together to do these things again?
And as far as
bringing the tone down.
No, absolutely no, because it was a question I wanted to ask you anyway. And as far as football is concerned, then we'll take the league title and promote.
I knew you'd say that.
If that were the case, like a lot of Leeds fans have said, they don't want to go up in that fashion. I know. Yeah, like a lot of Leeds fans have said, I'd rather stay in the Championship than go up.
I'm going up. He says, "We're going up."
I think that's a bit nuts, to be honest. I think,
I have spoken to a couple of Liverpool fans, to be fair. I've got a lot of friends who are Liverpool fans, and they all say that they don't want to just be handed it. Although, there's no way they're not going to win the Premier League. I mean,
exactly.
They're so far ahead, but they don't want to be handed it because they could always be the season that they were handed it.
It's really tragic all round, isn't it? Really. I mean, whatever the solution is, I can see some validity behind chopping it off and saying it didn't exist, let's start again. It's tough. I understand that, but also, how can you do that to teams that have gone so far, so high, done so? But how you play it, I don't know. I really don't.
Sorry. No. I was just going to say, but it's equally down at the bottom, isn't it?
Yeah. Can you say to Barnsley that they're down? I mean, let's cut it off now. Or also when you get back, say they could get back playing miraculously by September. How all those players are out of contract. A lot of players are out of contract. A lot of loan players have to go back to their parent club. The form of those teams bears no resemblance to when we stopped in February. You might have a different coach, different playing stuff. It bears no resemblance whatsoever to the last season. God forbid for you chaps, but say if Leeds United got back and they just didn't click. Say if Huddersfield Town were doing okay and we're just trying. Say if we totally fell apart and we go down. Barnsley could argue we need to play because we need to go. We need to give them a chance to save ourselves. Absolutely. And you haven't played the same teams. You may have had the easy fixtures left to play. You can't. It's just crazy.
Yeah, I don't envy the. I was going to say, I don't envy the people who have to decide how it's going to conclude. Really,
nobody's going to be happy.
No, I think that's right, and it's like you say, Reece, in terms of in terms of football games with crowds being, resuming at some point. I mean, the new season starts in August, doesn't it? At the end of August, and it's like, realistically, how is the next season going to start?
I was thinking you could really your only chance is to leave it till post Christmas. And at post-Christmas, at some point, when it's safe and we get the nod, finish season. And yes, all those things I said about different teams, different clubs, tough. That's the way it's going to have to be.
Yeah. There's only 9 games.
And then you play 9 games, say, from February into... You then have a good run-up to the Euros because you've got no pressure. You could even play warm-ups as regional cups and things, couldn't you? You could have, say, in January, February, if it was safe then, to give them a pre-season, because they'll need a pre-season. Whenever they get the nod, you could have, say, a Yorkshire Cup. You could get Sheffield United, Sheffield Wednesday, Barnsley, Leeds, Huddersfield, and all that, and have a little something that's competitive. But I just think next season, we've no chance of finishing this one and playing a full season. No.
Yeah.
No, I agree.
I'm surprised that hasn't been muted already, actually, because that makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah.
Leave it.
We'd leave it and then finish it off next year. Although I think that regional cup that could lead to scenes from a certain film that you did.
We don't want that, do we? No, we don't want that.
We don't.
No.
We don't want that. Okie dokie. Mitch, what about your industry? What state is that in? Because you guys were back in the studio, weren't you? Sort of recording stuff.
Yeah. So we just before. To cut a long story short, we actually haven't been in a band before in terms of doing live shows for like about 18 months now. So we started like a new kind of project, and we got into the studio in Armley and recorded 3 songs, and we had the plan of before all this kind of started, we were kind of like writing a lot, rehearsing a lot, and we had that drive. We kind of like rekindled that drive to kind of go for it again. We're doing really well. Aiming to come out around the end of summertime to start booking shows and kind of putting releases out and stuff like that. And then obviously this has happened, so it's kind of pushing it out. It's very hard to say when we'll kind of come out. But I mean, like even for like gigs itself, like I had quite a few. I had quite a few shows booked myself, and a lot of shows have been postponed or cancelled, haven't they? So I think it'll be a case of whenever it does come back, in terms of the industry, in terms of live shows, I think there'll be tons of shows and tours going on. I also think as well, like in terms of like just avid music goers, I think a lot of people who do attend concerts and gigs, I think they'll be, at the minute they'll be dying to see live shows. So I think
once
a lot of people
allowed, yeah.
Once we're allowed, whenever that'll be, like it's like Reece said, like I think it's going to be as soon as this is all completely over, they won't let people, even festival shows. I don't think they'll allow that to happen for a long time. So in terms of like the effects it had on the industry, I think a lot of people will, it'll start kind of having such a massive incentive to go see live shows, and such a kind of I think there'll be so much excitement around tours and shows and bands. In terms of a positive effect, anyway, it's never none of this is really all that positive, is it? But I think I think a lot of people will kind of like rekindle that love to attend live shows again, really. But yeah, in terms. Sorry, go on.
I would say it's whether the venues are still there, though, because
I was literally about to say that. Yeah,
there's so many kind of like Nottingham Rock City and stuff which have been absolute linchpins of tours of bands for years and years and years, and you just don't see that place surviving. No. Well, it's like music venues that are kind of. A lot of music venues are shutting down anyway, aren't they? Do you know what I mean? Like, now this has happened. It's like I think we're going to see a few more shut down, which isn't going to be very nice. So yeah, there'll be pros and cons. There'll be pros and cons to both, I suppose. But I think even like kind of promoters within the industry as well. I think a lot of promoters will suffer, for not putting on shows. Like we worked with a few promoters in Leeds and outside of Leeds and stuff like that, and they put on at least 50 shows a week. So for them not to be able to do that now is going to be a massive, financially a massive hit to them. So it's whether kind of promotion companies are going to still be around to promote live shows. It's who knows. Who knows?
None of us know what the economy's going to do either. It could be in a right state. So what are jobs like? What is income going to be? And can we afford to go to theatre and go see a band at a festival? None of us know. We're into waters that we've never, uncharted waters.
Yeah,
it's very scary.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I think it's no. Yeah, I think it's interesting, isn't it? Because my next question, actually, to you both, so you can be thinking about it, was going to be, creatively, you know, how are you keeping yourself going? If you are, I mean, maybe you're taking a break. I know lots of people are just using this time just to sort of reflect. But what has just struck me is that whole thing about promoters, actually, and about the smaller production houses as well. If you think about theatres, you know, the bigger production houses will survive. The bigger production companies will survive. The big promoters will survive. But what about the little ones? What about those that are just, you know, and it is this classic thing, and it sort of reminds me. I know it's not the same thing, but you know, this thing that we're reading at the moment about Virgin Atlantic and all that kind of stuff, and you know, billionaires will be fine, they'll be all right, or whatever, and you know, they'll get bailouts here, there, or whatever, because they're too bigger companies to go under, and all the rest of it. But what about the other ones? What about the ones that keep us ticking over? And especially, and I'm sure it's the same for musicians, especially as actors. Without those little theatres, you know, Wakefield Theatre Royal, where I started, you know, theatres like that. When I got my first job, what happens to them? Because if they go, then that's a way into the industry gone
for people.
Yeah, massively. Yeah, I mean, like a lot of these small promotion companies. Well, you say small, but regional, like. For us, when you're starting a band, you know, it's these smaller promotion companies that give you the opportunity to play in front of an audience at the end of the day, and then for you to take that to the next level. And it's like, if they can't survive, then it's going to be a massive hit to young bands, especially. We're trying to, you know, at least get gigs, you know, in the local area. You know, I think it'll be a massive hit to them. But again, it's hard.
Yeah, let's hope they survive. I was looking. I did a thing for Oldham Coliseum today. You know, the last job that I did finished just after Christmas at Oldham, and you know, I worry for theatres like the lovely little theatre that are really trying to, you know, expand the work that they're putting on, but if they don't get a pantomime. No. I mean, you know, it doesn't bear thinking about. Anyway, look, we've gone over that, and it's But my question was, what are you doing? I'll come to you first, Reece. Are you just taking a bit of a break? Are you, you know, what are you doing?
I gave myself a little challenge, and you mentioned it briefly, but I've never been very confident. You might think otherwise. With myself in public situations like something like this, or even speaking live to an audience as myself, and it's something that you have to kind of do in our job. Unfortunately, I just like to be an actor, and do my gig, and you know, and that's that. But so I, as you know, Lee, I'm on that Twitter thing, and I have a go, and it's gone a bit silly. But I thought in this time I'll try and embrace technology, and I'll talk to people, because we're all sat at home, and I thought I've always thought I'm the most uninteresting person alive, but then I got to the ripe old age of 60 last summer, and I went, you know what, I do know a couple of things. I have been around the block a couple of times. Maybe I have got something to impart that might be helpful to people, might inform them, might cheer them up. I don't know. And I took it on myself to understand Skype. This is the second call I've ever done on Skype. I understand Periscope, and I did a Zoom class with 20 actors last week, where we had a little chat about this, that, and the other. So I put myself out there, one, to get the demons off my back of things that I'm nervous of, and two, to just share something in this terrible time that you don't have to listen, but if you want to listen, I'm perfectly happy to share my experiences with people. So I've given myself a challenge. It might last another week, it might fall to bits, I might not enjoy it anymore, but you know what, so far so good. And like you boys, I think you heard me say this on Twitter, and you just said, do you want to come on our show then? And like that, I went, yes. Now, in the past, I would have gone, oh, no, you don't know, I have nothing to say. You don't want me, you know, it's all one of those. So there we go. Here we are. And I'm thoroughly enjoying it. And I'm very grateful. I'm trying to do something with my time.
Do you know what? And I also want to congratulate you and say that I'm very grateful for the point of view that you are one of those people at the moment that are sort of saying, I'll give you some advice. I'll talk to you.
Kids want it. You know, I've decided. My dad's kind of parting gift was to say to me, be you, son, do your thing and be proud. And so I decided at the age of 60, and now I'm a director of television as well as an actor, I thought, there's so many kids out there. When I was a kid growing up in Yorkshire, you know, it was rare to go to drama school and all that, and I had nobody to tell me anything. But then I thought, well, I can help these young kids out there. There's loads of working class kids trying to get into the industry, and it's very, very hard, very, very hard. And as I said before, the unemployment rate is enormous. But I think everybody deserves a chance. So I'm prepared to try and help them in whatever minuscule, minute way that I can, to just pass on some advice and information. It may be bollocks, but it's probably not.
It's definitely not.
There you go.
It's funny actually, because every time I find myself, like when I'm talking to my students when the school was open, and I would say, you know, it's really, really hard, it's difficult, and it's, you know, I went to drama school as a mature student, and I've been quite lucky over the last 10 years that I've been acting full time professionally, that my career's been, touch wood, like, you know, whatever. But it is hard. It's a struggle, and I remember my niece going to drama school, and then my brother-in-law saying to me, "Will you just speak to her, because you know she's got, you know, you just need to tell her how difficult it's going to be." So I sat her down and I said, "Look, you need to be able to do other things. You need to be able to have an income." And she was like, "Yeah," like kids do when they're at drama school. Of course, her first job out of drama school was hangman. In the West Royal Court.
So, the West End. Okay, Mike. Yes, get away. I don't need you.
Yeah. And she's just
flying.
Like, yeah,
these days, you have as much chance of working in this industry as you have in anywhere. Yeah,
I know. So anyway, brilliant. Mitch, so what have you been doing? Well, I know what you've been doing, but tell us about how you've been keeping yourself busy artistically.
Artistically, yes. So as I mentioned earlier, from my song choice, I've kind of, for the last 18 months, I've been doing something completely different to what I'm used to, and that's kind of writing a lot of instrumental and soundtrack music. And I kind of, a couple of weeks ago, I think it was the first week of when we got lockdown, I kind of thought, you know, I've been doing this for about 18 months to 2 years now. I've been kind of recording all this kind of music, and I've not really done anything with it. So I thought, you know, everyone's at home, everyone's kind of on social media and all that. Why not just put a piece out and see what reaction it gets? And I put an instrumental piece out, and the reaction was completely, you know, incredible. Like, you know, people were kind of saying really nice things, and it was nice for me to kind of get a lot of kind of feedback off people that weren't, you know, my parents and my girlfriend. You know, and it's almost like reassuring, kind of satisfying to know that, you know, it's what you're producing and what you're making is, you know, is actually, you know, half decent. So so a lot of my time has been taken up with a lot of writing, as it kind of always is, really. I'm still managing to work a little bit. So I don't know if you guys know, but I teach lead guitar. That's what I do for a living. So I teach fairly part time.
He supports you.
Yeah. He takes up. So I do full time, 48 hours a week, just to
48 hours a week for 2 years would not improve me at the moment. Let me tell you, it really wouldn't.
But no, yeah. So I teach. I'm a guitar teacher, kind of as a job. So I want to
do that, Mitch. When you do that, generally before the lockdown, where were you doing that? At a college, a music college or something?
Oh, sorry, no. It's one-to-one tuition. So I do it from. I do it 4 days a week. It's just one-to-one.
Okay.
So when kind of this all happened, I kind of thought, oh, what are we going to do here? Because I mean, we'd had kind of inquiries for lessons over Skype in the past, and because we'd never really done it before, we kind of just brushed it off and thought, you know, it's not really kind of it wouldn't really be doable. But obviously, we kind of, you know, we've got no choice now because, you know, it's we obviously can't see each other. So we've used an app. We've used an app called Zoom. I think you mentioned it earlier.
I know all about Zoom.
Yeah. It's amazing. It's an absolute life. You know,
right.
I mean, I'm not managed to retain all my students, but a couple here and there, you know, is you know, I suppose every little helps. You know, with kind of times in it. So
well done.
And it's been a massive learning curve as well. You know, it's kind of. So, you know, in the future, if we do get inquiries in terms of, you know, can you teach online? It's like, well, Yeah, we can now because we've got experience from it. So,
but that was something that you were looking at, not necessarily online, but certainly an online course.
Yeah, correct. Yes. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, so my dad had this because my dad's also a guitar teacher as well, and he's been teaching for about 15, 16 years now, and he kind of thought a lot of these kind of a lot of classes are starting to move onto online, whether it's kind of learning guitar, cooking. I don't know, my mind's gone blank, but he thought kind of, if we kind of don't do that, then kind of other people are going to kind of latch onto it and kind of start to advertise. I mean, there already are guitar lessons and courses online anyway, but I think what we don't want to bring to it was more of a kind of like a more authentic kind of family feel to it almost. Like, it's, you have these big corporate companies like Fender and Musician and, a lot of massive kind of companies who have multiple tutors on there that are teaching kind of different styles. Mike, I don't know if you're familiar with that kind of thing, but
yeah, I mean, one when you mentioned that, one sprung to mind that caught my attention the other day, and the masterclass stuff where Dustin Hoffman teaches you acting or whatever. There was one the other day, and I thought I quite fancy this, and it was Tom Morello from Rage Against the Machine teaching you guitar, and I was like, that's one I would love.
Yeah, well, that's it. I mean, Tom Morello for a lot of people is a hero, isn't he? So be a hero to teach you guitar. I mean, that's amazing. And like I say, there's already people doing that. So I think my dad had the idea that we need to kind of catch on to what's already happening, and try and kind of not do the same thing, but do a similar thing and make it kind of authentic to us, really. So I'm not featured in any videos, but I've learned a new skill on how to edit videos. So I'm kind of, a lot of my time is taken up by editing these lessons and that's so that's taking a lot of my time up. So yeah, creatively I'm quite busy at the minute, which is always nice. Yeah.
No, it's great. It's great, and I know that because I've sort of been one of these people that obviously we started doing this, but I get. Loads of people doing monologues and actors doing lots of monologues and sort of writing things, and it's great, but I just can't watch another one. There's just so there's just so many of them. You know what I mean? And it's sort of like, but yeah. And what Mike, actually, what I was going to say is those scripts that we've got, we should do them as radio plays, but we'll talk about that later. Well, we can, because Reece said he'd be in one.
Get in the corner, why don't you?
No, brilliant. Yeah, absolutely. I think you've got to sort of stay active. But actually, as actors as well, we're sort of used to this. We're used to sort of
in between jobs.
Long periods of time. Look, it's cracking on. I appreciate your time, gentlemen. So, last question really was, and I'll come to you first, Reece, if that's all right. Just a standout moment for you in your career. It could be something that was really, really exciting, or it could be a moment where you thought, actually, I've arrived, or it could just be something that made you smile, just anything that sort of sticks out.
Actually, it is related to acting, and I'll tell this to Mitch as well, because he'll be impressed, but I got to work for 2 days with David Bowie.
No.
How about that? It was. I did read this just before. I thought, what went wow to me? And it was meeting David Bowie. Basically, I did a series in 1992. Me, Kevin McNally, terrific actor, Sue Johnson, absolutely brilliant. It was a Dick Clement, Ian LaFrenne series called Full Stretch. The guys who'd written Porridge and The Likely Lads and all this. And there's a long story behind why it didn't succeed at different times. It might have done it another time, but that's another story. But basically, we owned a stretch limousine company, and each week somebody came into the it's a different story with whoever got into the cab. But the kick-off episode, Dick and Ian, who lived in LA, knew David Bowie. He was a mate. And they said to David, will you come and be David Bowie in the very opening episode? And so I get the script. You want to do this job, Reece? Yes. And then it's David Bowie. And I'm thinking, what the hell? So when I got on set the very first day, the director, she said to me, we're going to take you into David's hotel room now to meet David. Because he was playing himself. I was actually the limo driver taken him to a gig at Brixton somewhere and things. And I went in with the director into his room, and he invited us, and he was so nice. But I was so nervous, and I didn't know what the hell to say. I really was gobsmacked with it. And as the day progressed, and we did our first scene on the steps, and I'm looking in David Bowie's eyes, and he's talking to me, and he's talking, he's doing a bit of acting, and I just thought, this is ridiculous. We spent 2 days. The best part of 2 days. One of the first day in a limousine, me in the front seat, of course, him being David Bowie in the back, and in between takes me and him just idling away, chatting away, doing this, that, and the other.
Brilliant.
What a joy! And he was an absolute gentleman. So that's just a wow moment. It wasn't really an acting moment, but it was. It was in an acting job, and the man was a legend, wasn't he? So,
this is the man that thinks he's got nothing to tell anyone. He's got nothing to say.
I also had dinner one night with Van Morrison.
Oh no!
Pick that one off the floor.
Just boom.
Yeah.
Have some of that. That's for another time. But yeah, it's been extraordinary. The things that you get to do. I mean, it has been an amazing job, and I could go on and on about it. I did it in my kind of live stream thing. I told about being in Ken Branagh's Hamlet, and every star in the firmament came into that show every day. Me and Tim Spall were Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, and it was Kate Winslet, it was Jack Lemmon, it was Charlton Heston, it was Billy Crystal, it was Robin Williams, it was Judi Dench, every day. And it's just ridiculous. I'm from Normanton.
I got that on.
Normanton. What's that about?
Ken Branagh's Hamlet. I remember they released the full 4-hour VHS, and I asked for it for Christmas, and I must have watched it 1 year, like near enough like every other day. It was like
brilliant,
massive,
beautiful.
a massive influence on me.
And so there are only 3 cinemas in the whole country that could show it. The screens needed to be, I mean, the film mags were massive on the back of the camera. This was in absolute wondrous Technicolor and whatever. It was a sumptuous feast on the eye, and all these, Jack Lemmon playing 5 lines, coming in and doing their thing. What a strange old business. I'm sure it's the same for you there. It's Mitch. It's as in your business will be the same thing. We're just lucky people sometimes.
Yeah, massively. Yeah, massively.
Mitch, follow that.
Yeah.
I might have to make up something now, Reece. I think.
About that time you went for drinks with Freddie Mercury.
Yeah. I can't top that, but I mean, I think like you mentioned earlier, Lee, I think for my career so far, I mean, it had to be. I mean, Glastonbury just stands up compared. It's like it's heads and shoulders with anything else really for me. Purely because of the timing of it. The whole thing it meant to us as musicians at the time of I mean, me being 18, I think when you to do something like that as an 18-year-old, I mean, I was still learning the industry as well. We'd only been kind of a band for about not even 2 years. So the fact that we got offered to do that were incredible, and the people that we met as well. Like I remember stood when we arrived to the stage, and we were sat in his van ready to load in the gear, and Fern Cotton just walked past, and then they were like, and then we played his show, and then there were George Ezra just sat in the changing room next to us. I think I went for a wee one of the Portaloos and held open the door for George Ezra, and you're just like, oh, bloody hell, So it's just stuff like stuff. Yeah. For me, that's a massive. Yeah, one of the biggest.
You had me at Glastonbury. You need to say no more.
No, absolutely.
So exactly. Yeah, and I don't think you don't realise how big it was until you look back on it now. You're kind of riding that wave at the time, and you kind of might still a massive blur. But that is my wow moment, I think.
Glastonbury's a pretty big wow moment. I mean, I've never been. I'd like to, but I'd like to wait until I can have some sort of backstage pass. I don't have the time in
be in the hotel.
Yeah, exactly. Brilliant. Okay, thank you, gentlemen. Oh no, we've done that. We've done it. Brilliant. Thank you so much. It's been absolutely wonderful chatting with you.
Thank you, lads.
Absolute pleasure. Reece, go and enjoy a nice glass of wine. You've earned it.
I will do now. Yes, we've earned it, haven't we?
Look
lovely
forward,
talking to you all. Thank you.
yeah,
ever so
really
much.
lovely.
Oh, yeah, great to meet you guys. Yeah, thank you.
Look forward to seeing you on Periscope. Are you on tomorrow again?
I'm going to go on Thursday afternoon at 3:30. So we'll go again and see what we can come out with.
Excellent. All right.
Okay.
Hope to see you then.
All right, lads. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
See you later,
guys.
Cheers,
Take
guys.
care.
Mitch,
Bye-bye.
thanks very much, mate. I'll
Thank you.
speak to you soon. Really good. Thanks
Yeah,
very
you will
much.
indeed. No,
Take care,
thanks for
lads.
having me. Thanks for
Feel
having me.
free to log off. We'll
Okay.
wrap the show up.
I've got to work that out yet. You boys go. Take care, lads.
Thanks,
Cheers, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thank
See you
you.
later.
Put the flat down.
That was
Great show.
Yeah.
Really good. Remember to subscribe, to like, to press the bell, all the rest of it. We've got a fantastic show coming up on Wednesday when we've got Kelly Condron, that you will know from Hollyoaks, from a time she was one of the original cast members there. And we've got actor musician Rebecca Lindley joining us as well. That's 8 o'clock on Wednesday. But that was so lovely, so great. I was really looking forward to that one, and it didn't disappoint.
Yeah, and it's one of those things, like, Reece is somebody who, as Yorkshire actors, you're always kind of in the shadow of, because he's done so much and came from exactly the same background as we all did.
Yep.
And, you know, he's always, you know, there fighting the corner for Yorkshire actor and Yorkshire creatives and stuff. So it's one of those moments in it. Like, that's my career highlight. Do you know what I mean?
No, it's great.
Yeah.
And I'm just disappointed I didn't get to talk to him about some of the theatre stuff.
I know,
but we
like
could have
Richard
talked.
III was,
We could have talked forever.
Yeah.
But we didn't. But there we go.
Yeah.
It is.
Let's wrap it up then.
Let's do that.
I've no else really.
No. I'm very happy. So we're back on Wednesday. We've got Kelly Condron coming on, actor. Stop.
I saw the second Guinness coming in, so.
I know. No, I wasn't going to have to. To be fair, I haven't finished it. But
how much is left?
Let me try that again.
Yeah.
So on Wednesday we have Kelly Condron coming on, best known for her work as the original cast member, one of the original cast members of Hollyoaks. She's also an acting tutor. She's a voice-over artist these days.
And you've got to look at her Twitter for the lockdown mum stuff, which is brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely. Look at the lockdown mum stuff. We also have Rebecca Lindley coming on, who is an actor, musician, fantastic singer. I didn't realise, when we first met her, I didn't realise how good she is, actually.
She's really good.
You're really good.
Like, yeah. We'll talk about that on Wednesday with her, rather than just me and you talking about it now.
Probably the best idea.
Yeah.
So let's wrap that up then, and we'll hopefully see everybody on Wednesday evening, 8 o'clock. And also coming up in the next couple of weeks, we've got some fantastic guests lined up. So keep an eye on that as well, social media, etc., etc. Give us a like, subscribe, press the bell, all the rest of it, and we'll see you next time.
Adios from the bunker.